Hi everyone, it's Eileen here. I've left it a bit late in the day and I'm afraid I've got a few shadows over my desk where the sun has gone round, so I hope that this will be okay. I'll very quickly get on and show you how I made this card. I liked it very much, thought it was rather pretty, and I'm using Lavinia stamps and also Lavinia stamp stencil along with a gesso resist background. And this is the end result, so hopefully that's what it's going to turn out like. So starting off with a piece of Paper Mill Direct A4 sheet of card, and I've just folded it in half lengthways, and then I've cut it at 16.5 centimetres in length, and then sliced off a bit of the side as well, and that's 10 now, 10 centimetres by 16.5. Pop that out the way. Pop my card there so I can see what I'm doing. And take a piece of copy paper and pop that in there to protect the inside of my card. One layer card, as you've gathered. I'm using a Lavinia stencil called Flourish. It's really pretty. Just popping that over. And with a cheap makeup sponge, very cheap, I'm using some heavyweight gesso, but you can use any gesso that you've got. Just a tiny amount onto the mat. Half of that will do, actually. Pop the lid back on. And with the makeup sponge, bring it down onto your mat so that you can get a very, very thin layer. No lumps or bumps anywhere. And the thinner the layer, when you apply it, the quicker it will dry through the stencil, and that's what I'm aiming for. So I'm just aiming for the middle of the card. This is where the speckled egg blue will be. Not being too careful, just dib-dab-dob. Let's have a look. Yep, that's nice. Now I've moved the stencil. Actually, I think I'll leave it at that. Don't push your luck, Eileen. Okay. Taking a wet cloth, just mop up that. Gives the time to the gesso to dry, but I'm also going to give it a quick blast. It's quite a quick card, this. Couple of layers, few stamps, and you're done. It's warped the card a bit, but that will soon settle back down. Right, next is the ink, and I'm using Speckled Egg, which is my favourite distressed ink at the moment, but they're releasing a new one soon. Next week there's another one. Wonder what colour that will be, but this is beautiful. And in a circular motion, just popping the blue on. Not being too careful. And not too heavy-handed either. Just pop that on. And then on to Tattered Rose, another makeup brush, and then round all the edges now. Now I'm not looking for a perfect blend. You're going to get, or I would like to get, a few sort of wispy areas, and some areas won't be quite as pink as others. There won't be any white areas as such, but it will be paler, and so it looks as if it's got a little bit of texture, or it won't look so flat. That's the aim anyway. It's a pretty pink. A bit more now, I think. Yes, I'm quite happy with that. I'm not looking for a thick overall blend. I'm just looking for a nice, pretty background that I'm happy with. And I think that I'm there with that. Maybe a little bit more pink down here. But that will do me. Yep, that's good. Those all out of the way. And on to stamping. And if you want to, you can bring in a stamping platform. I've got my mat, but I'm going to turn it around because my flowers are long and I stamp the stems. I want them to be straight, and I find that if I turn the card on its side, then it's easier for me. Nocturne, Versifying Clear Nocturne Black, and the first stamp that I'm using is obviously a Lavinia Stamps image, and this is Mushroom Lantern, and it's just the single flower. They do the single flower and also a set of 2 called Mushroom Lantern Set. Gentle tapping. And then the next bit, being very careful of, I want to get all the residue of the ink that I've allowed to leak over the side of the stamp. So I want to get rid of all that. Make sure there's no stray bits of ink going to go on the card. I think that's all right. And it goes in the middle. Down. And press. Now, you're stamping onto gesso, which means it's going to resist the ink as well. You'll get a nice stamped image. However, because it's not an instant dry like archival, you're going to have to heat set it to make it dry, because this ink can't soak in where the gesso is laying as it would normal cardstock without the resist area. So I'm going to do all the stamping and then heat set it to dry the ink off. But it will stamp okay, you'll see. See? Nice image, no problem. So that's one. Then I'm bringing the set in. This is the larger of the 2 that are in the set, called Mushroom Lantern Set. We want the small one first. Same thing. Just check the outer area. Inked up okay. And then I'm going to pop this, looking at my... I'm going to pop this so that it goes just in front, the stem, of the other one. Ah, now that moved. I hope that it's okay. It sort of slid over the gessoed area. Uh-oh. Maybe the Lavinia Stamps fairies will look favourably on me. Oh, and they did. Oh, that's good. That was lucky, Eileen. Okay. Next one is this one from the same set, the larger image. And again, remove all any ink from round about the outside of the image. And I'm stamping this obviously on the other side and around about here, I think. trying to get it straight again. Down and hold it and then press. It's not going to be soaking into the gessoed area as I've explained, so I'm just making sure that it's got good contact. And then up. And that looks nice. I've got a double line there, but I can get rid of that. Now that's good. Okay. Now that's going to want to blast with a heat gun, but before I do, I just want to tidy my image up here. Just going to ink that in so there was a gap, but now it looks as if it's perfect, and that's great. So now I'm going to give it a quick blast, dry that black image off. They're lovely flowers. I think that should be okay. Next, before I put the snail on, I want to do the words. The text on these, the font is really pretty, and this is a set called See a Fairy. I'm not sure what it actually says, and I'm just using it for background texture, so I won't be using first generation ink. It will be third generation, just to give me a whisper in the background of the words being there. And the ink I'm using for that is archival, and it's a very pretty rose madder, and I use this a lot. It's a lovely ink, especially for pink themed cards. Before you put this text on, just ensure that you have dried off that black ink image, because if you haven't, you're going to transfer some of the black ink to your text, to your words, and you don't want that. Right, so that's inked up well, but now I'm going to take off 2 layers of it, and then starting at the top, I'm trying to keep it straight, and then down, not pressing too heavily, and again, and then a bit at the bottom, and again, and then back to the top, so that it's there right the way through the card. You can read a word now and again, but mainly it's out of focus, and that's fine by me, because it's just acting as a texture. Right, I shall need that again in a minute. Now I'm looking for tiny snail and black, onyx black again, nocturne, not onyx black, nocturne Claire, Versafine Claire, gentle tapping. And then we'll pop him down there and then up. Now he will soak into the cardstock because he isn't over a gessoed area. He's just on the inked cardstock, so he will actually soak in. So I can wait a bit longer, but that's nice. And then finally, I'm going to take a little bit of kitchen towel, tear that off, and then I want to ground the stems of the flowers, and I'm using the archival ink, but taking a lot of it off because I just want a whisper of this. I don't want it to be too overpowering. That's that. Oops. Bring a bit out there, I think. And then a little under the snail, like so. And that's a bit more there. And I think, apart from taking a white pen and just filling in some of these circles on the top of the lantern. They remind me of strawberry seeds, actually. There. Oh, you making a cup of coffee? That would be nice, thank you.
I'll do it as soon as I have mended my broken leg where you wanted a coffee before. And I was 30 seconds late in bringing it.
You're trying to say I kicked you, are you?
Don't mind if I walk with a limp, do you?
No, obviously it wasn't hard enough, was it? Okay. Right. Oh, don't want that. I think that I'm done now. Let's have a look at the original. Now, the only other thing that I haven't done, that I should, is to take this damp cloth, and I should have done this earlier on, and just remove some of the ink and make those white gessoed areas whiter by removing some of the ink, and I forgot to do that, but you can forgive me, can't you? So you need to do this earlier on, and in fact you need to do it as soon as you've inked up. As soon as you've inked up, before you start stamping, just get a damp cloth and just dib-dab-dob a bit and get rid of, so that they're whiter and they show up more. I think I've got away with that though. Yes, I'm quite pleased with that. A little bit of black pencil. This is dark blue, that will do. And just a smidge around, a bit of shadow for these. And a bit there, and a bit under him, I think, just to ground him a bit more. Don't go too mad. I certainly don't want to go mad now because I think I've nearly finished this one. Anyway, that's about it. Thank you for looking today. Thank you for the lovely kind comments that you leave me. Have a nice week. I'll be back with you next Saturday and Sunday with another 2 Lavinia stamp projects. During this week, I'm hoping to be back on Wednesday, and it might be Visible Image or it could be Sweet Poppy Stencils. See what inspires me. Thank you ever so much, everybody. Take care. Bye for now.